Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about stress. And we're going to talk about what oranges have to do with stress, what diamonds have to do with stress. And we're going to talk about the most important thing of all, which is that we're going to demystify this thinking that says the stress is in the situation. And we're going to turn it around on its head. And I'm going to share a hard truth with you, which is that the stress is in us. It's not in the situation. It's not about the situation. The stress is in us. Ouch. I know it's really hard to hear. In fact, I had someone once say to me, I don't want to hear that. I just don't want to hear it. And I get it. I get it. But this is the life of a meditator. A meditator is going to sit here and go, oh, yeah, the stress is in me. Okay. Tell me more, Caren. Tell me more. So I'm going to tell you more. Hi, everyone. I'm Caren Prentice. This is the Meditation Mama podcast. And hopefully by the end of our podcast today, you will be able to be the person who says, I don't stress. I don't stress. And it will be a true statement. So let's start with basics. The basics are, let's talk about analogy that we use when we're talking about stress in the world of meditation. We call it the orange juice analogy. And it goes like this. Imagine that I've got an orange in my hand and you're in front of me, and we look at the orange, and you look at the orange and you say to yourself, it looks like an orange. And I hand you the orange and you feel it. You say, feels like an orange. And you hold an orange up to your nose and you go, it smells like an orange. And then I take the orange back from you and we go, but is it really an orange? And the only way to really find out if it's an orange is to squeeze it and see what comes out when we squeeze it. And if it's really an orange, when we squeeze it, what's going to come out is orange juice, right? Very simple. So the analogy is when we get pressed, when we get squeezed, which is what stress is. Stress is when something is getting pressured and squeezed. What's inside is going to come out. And for us as humans, the reality is that most of us put a face onto the world and we act kind or considerate or patient. We put a face on and we show a side of us to the world that we want the world to see, that comports with the way we want the world to see us. But when we're at home, we're different. We're not the same, right? When we get stressed, what comes out of us isn't kindness and patience and clear-headed thinking. For many of us, when we get stressed, what comes out is we snap, we yell, we blame other people. We might even resort to shaming other people just out of anger or frustration. We become very judgmental. Some might say we become bitchy and mean. When we get stressed, we become demanding and controlling, and we're not nice. We're just not nice people. And as meditators, the good news here is that we can use stress to help us recognize what's really going on inside us and not get caught up in the illusion of who we think we are, but begin to see what's really going on. And I know this was for me. I had an idea that I was a kind, patient, caring, easy to work with, easy to get along with person. And, the truth was that maybe I wasn't. Maybe I was really demanding and I got really mean and not nice when things didn't go my way, when I was getting stressed. Okay, so one analogy, the orange juice. When we get squeezed, what's inside us comes out. It reveals what's really inside us. The other analogy we want to talk about today is the idea of coal, or earth, coal. When it gets pressed, when it gets under pressure and stressed, it becomes a diamond. It transforms into a diamond. And in meditation, we use the symbol of the diamond the term we use is the Vajra, 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 is a symbol of what is indestructible. Like a diamond is indestructible, right? And it's radiant and it's clear and it sparkles, and it's the word we use in meditation. It's luminous. And this Vajra is a state of awareness that is pure awareness that is filled with joy and love and light and peace and calm. It's like life. The stresses of life are pressing and helping us become these aware of these qualities that in meditation, many of the teachings say are who we really are. This is what's really inside us. Okay. All right. So now we've talked about the orange juice. We've talked about the diamond. And now let's talk about stress. And stress is a physical response in our bodies for us, right? It shows up in our bodies as heart racing, shortness of breath. Some people feel it as tightness, pressure, tension, nausea, just a whole feeling in the body of just this buzzy feeling. There's lots of different signals that the body sends out when it is feeling stressed. And the common teaching is out there, you may have already heard this before, is that we evolved these physical symptoms in our body because these are the ways our body shut down the unessential parts so that the parts of us that could get us away from danger, get us away from a threat, could operate at high performance standards, and we could run like the Dickens and get away from the tigers and the lions and those things that wanted to eat us, right? And so the stress response is a very real physical response in the body that's there to protect us and help us survive. And here's the thing. In our modern world, there was not exactly tigers and lions that we're running away from, right? In our modern world, it is our thoughts that are causing us the stress. It's our thoughts that are causing us the stress. Thoughts are so powerful that thoughts have the ability to generate a physical response in the body without the actual situation or event happening. Just thinking about it. Just thinking about it. And you all know this. You all know this. You can think, daydream about somebody you love, and you just feel really good. You can think about something that scares you, that you're afraid of, and your whole body responds. Thoughts are powerful. They're incredibly powerful. And what we've learned as meditators is that the ability to recognize when stress is coming into our body, when our body is starting to have a stress response, it's a signal to us to maybe start to pay attention to what are the thoughts that are causing this stress. But before we can do that, we first have to notice that our body is having a stress response. And here's the thing, folks. I don't know about you, but I was not at all connected to my body when I started meditating. I wasn't aware that my body was tight. I wasn't aware that I was feeling pressure in my chest. I wasn't aware that my heart was beating, my chest was my breathing was shallow. I just wasn't aware of those things. And most of us aren't aware of them until it becomes critical. And we're, going to the emergency room because we think we might be having a heart attack or something. The ability to pay attention to our body, to the subtle signals it's sending, is a skill that we can develop. And there's a man named John Kabat-Zinn who developed a course called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction that has literally kind of transformed the landscape of meditation and stress, the way our approach to stress in the West. It's brilliant what he's done. And I highly recommend looking him up online on YouTube and looking into getting his book. But what I'll tell you now is one of the first things he does in the class is to train people to do what's called a body scan, which is where you lay down, if you can, on the floor. If not, you just get very comfortable in a chair, and he takes you step by step through each part of your body. And depending on if it's a short body scan or a long body scan, you might spend 5 seconds in your big toe or maybe a minute, right? But either way, what we're doing in a body scan is we're learning to let go of all the other thoughts and just show up completely aware and present for the sensations our body is experiencing. And we go through it part by part by part. It's beautiful. I recommend go to YouTube. There's so many people out there who have meditations that are body scans. Go to some of the meditation apps. And what you may find is what most people find is that they do these and they get so relaxed. Many people fall asleep during it because their thoughts have quieted, they're present in their bodies, and their bodies are relaxing, and it's heavenly, right? And so, yes, a body scan takes the tension out of the body. It makes us feel so relaxed. But there's another very important purpose for the body scan. And it's this: when you learn what your body feels like on a very granular level, what your body feels like when it's not tight and constricted and stressed, it becomes easier to recognize when your body is starting to even feel the signals of stress starting to come in. So we no longer have to wait until we're having a critical event to realize we're feeling stressed. We become in tune with our body enough that we recognize, oh, wait, my body is having a stress response. And we can then ask the question, what is causing it? What is causing it? And we don't go to the situation as a meditator. You go to, what are the thoughts I'm thinking? What is it that I'm experiencing that is causing this stress? What we begin to recognize is that our subconscious thoughts, that are the ones that we're not really aware of, are really the source of our stress. And we're such good Westerners in that we've become very adept at ignoring those subconscious thoughts. We don't want to know them. We don't want to think about them. We ignore them, and we've just pushed them down, and we function. We've learned how to function and put a good face forward. But when we're trying to become an aware meditator, we want to see what those thoughts are. And so we begin to look at stress as a signal from our body saying, pay attention to me, because your body knows before you know that you're starting to feel stress. Let me say that again. Your body knows before you know. So what we're learning to do is to pay attention to the signals in our body, right? And realize, feeling a little bit of those signals that there's stress coming. And then we learn as meditators to ask the next question, which is, what's the threat? What's the threat that my subconscious is perceiving? Because if you want to look at it this way, And I found this to be an incredibly helpful way to look at it. When my body is sending me a signal, I see it as my body begging me to pay attention to these thoughts, these old habits of thought, so that I can transform them. And the word we use is neutralize them. I can correct them. I can change them so that those thoughts are no longer stuffed deep inside, but I can bring them up. I can correct them. I can transform them so that they're not in there causing me stress. So how do we do this? We say, what's the threat? I'm starting to feel some stress here. What's the threat? Okay, there's a deadline approaching and there's too much to do than can be done with the amount of people here to meet that deadline. That's just a fact. The stress response to that situation, when we start to feel a stress response, that's when we ask, what's the threat? And we ask ourselves, so am I afraid something bad is going to happen? And we might realize that, yeah, I'm afraid if I don't make this deadline, I'm going to get fired. I'm afraid that if I don't make this deadline, um, I'm going to be blamed for what has happened and my reputation is going to go in the toilet, right? I'm afraid that what is the threat? The threat is that I may disappoint my coworkers. I may disappoint my boss. I may feel judged. I may be afraid that other people are going to see me as incompetent. I may feel shame for the fact that I couldn't do the impossible. And so the threat is feeling shame, feeling judged, feeling like we're going to disappoint someone. And maybe if we disappoint someone, that means they won't accept us, they won't like us. And I was raised in a family where love was a very conditional thing. And so for me, this kind of stress was about if I risked disapproval, then I would be rejected. It becomes an existential, survival thing. If I'm not loved, then I won't be cared for. I won't be taken care of. Right. And these are the kinds of fears that are deep underneath our stress. But if we can see what the threat is and we can actually look at it, we can correct it. And we can say to ourselves things like, I'm doing the best I can. I don't have to be perfect to be part of this team. I don't have to worry about disappointing somebody because everybody's in the same boat as I am. And we can start to look at things more clearly as we heal and balance these things inside us that are not true. And so I think a better way of illustrating this is to take you through the little story of what happened to me when I was preparing this, preparing for this podcast this morning. So I'm just kind of going through the thoughts of what we're going to talk about, and I'm revisiting this idea because I wanted to give you something, a real tangible takeaway, right? And my dad had given me these lines once. He'd said, when you're overwhelmed, just delegate, simplify, eliminate. Just do it in that order and it'll all be great. And so I was kind of gearing the podcast around that because that seemed really easy. It rhymed. It was something tangible you could take away. And in the middle of it, I had this moment of, wait a minute, I'm telling them the stress is in them, not in the situation. And here I'm giving them a solution that's about changing the situation. Holy shit, Caren, what are you doing? Wait a minute, is it even true? Is it? And I actually entertained the idea, wait a minute, is this not true? Is the stress really in the situation? And if you change the situation, you won't feel stress? And I had to explore that. I couldn't just let that go. And so as I'm supposed to be sitting down to start recording to meet the deadline, I'm now going back to my notes from all my classes in the past. I've taught the coping with stress class for years and years and years. I have many versions of the class. And so I'm looking through the notes and I'm thinking to myself, okay. And I'm seeing, okay, it is in the person, it is in the person, but I'm watching the clock tick and I'm seeing I'm supposed to be recording and I'm not recording. And I'm starting to feel that little bit of pressure coming in and my body gets a little buzzy and I feel just a little bit of pressure starting to come in on my chest, right? And I'm feeling this and I'm going, oh, interesting. Starting to feel a little stressed. What's going on here? And I realize that I'm about to miss the ability to record the podcast before our staff meeting and that I'm realizing that I'm feeling stressed because I'm going to let my team down. I'm feeling stressed because I'm going to blow the schedule. I'm feeling this pressure because I'm going to disappoint my people. I'm going to let them down. And I want them to think highly of me. I want them to like me. I want them to think well of me. I want them to think I'm competent. I told them I was going to get this done and here I was going to break my word. So I had all of this working on me. And I had the thought in my head, well, but Caren, you're the boss here. You get to make these decisions. And that wasn't good enough because the desire to not let my team down, to not disappoint them, to not have them think that I was incompetent was stronger than anything else going on. And so I did exactly what I'm telling you to do. I noticed those were the thoughts. And I was like, well, okay, those aren't really true. I know my team and I know that that's not how they're going to be responding to this. I'm noticing all this and now it's time for staff meeting. I didn't get it recorded and I opened the staff meeting and I'm laughing and I'm telling them about this and I'm telling this whole story. And I decided, okay, so now here's how we neutralize the thought. This is how you neutralize the thought. You've looked at it, you see what the threat is, you see what it is, and now we test it. And so I said to Darcy, Darcy, what was working on me was I thought I was gonna disappoint you if I didn't get this done. Are you disappointed? And she said with so much kindness, just this beautiful little smile on her face. And she said, no, not at all. I asked her one more thing. I asked her if that meant that they were going to think less of me. And she just smiled and she said, no, Caren, I would have liked to get the podcast done, but I understand how it goes. I understand everything you're doing and I know you're doing the best you can. I know you're doing the best you can. And it was like validation, everything I had thought. And there she validated it. And hearing it from another person, validated that those thoughts and that stress were coming from inside me. They were not in the situation. They were inside me. And I was able to let them go. I mean, by the time I'd gotten to the staff meeting, I was aware of what was going on. We laughed about it. It was great. And it was proof to me that everything I'm saying here is the stress is not in the situation. It's in us. And instead of me coming to the meeting, snapping and blaming and upset and defensive and blaming all these reasons why I didn't get done and, holding that kind of yuckiness inside me, what came out of me when I was starting to feel the little bit of pressure was understanding, a sense of humor, curiosity, and gratitude for my team. What came out of me was not yucky stuff. What came out of me was a version of orange juice. As we learn to become on the inside what we want the world to see on the outside, right? When we learn to become the gifts that a meditator gains, which are to become equanimous, to feel calm, to have a sense of humor, to be kind, to not judge, to not blame, but to just be totally accepting of who we are. That's what helps us gain the awareness to recognize that really who we are when we're not this body and we're not these thoughts is that we are this heart that is like a diamond. It's luminous, it's radiant, it's clear, it's loving, it's kind, it's joyful. That's who we really are. And that awareness of that's what we gain. That's the gift of the pressure. That's the gift of the stress. It gives us the skills and the tools to shift our thoughts, to correct our thoughts, to shift our thinking, and not blame the world for what's going on inside us, but to become the orange juice. We become the orange juice. So, my friends, that's what it is for today. I hope that this gives you a little hope and inspiration to say to yourself that I can do this too. If Caren can do this, I can do this. And I can be someone who says, I don't stress. I feel it. I can feel it when it's starting to come in, and I know exactly what to do when it's starting to come in. Now, when I'm not encumbered by those old thoughts, now is when I have the clarity to, oh, let's delegate it. We got more on our plate than we can handle. Let's delegate. Oh, gee, there's still too much to do. Okay, let's simplify this a little bit so it's not so complicated. Oh, this is still a little overwhelming. Okay, let's just eliminate. Let's eliminate a few things. It's a solution to a practical situation. We're not doing it because we're stressed. We're doing because it's practical. It's the solution. Thank you so much for listening. I do hope you found something that was helpful or meaningful or maybe even inspiring. If you have any questions, please email me at podcast@meditationmama.com, and I'll be sure to answer them on one of our upcoming episodes. And in the meantime, let's all just take a moment to just let our attention drop into that heart center, and let's take this thought with us into the rest of our day, the rest of our week.
May all be happy, may they be free, joyous, grateful, safe and at ease. May they live wisely, flowing downstream, row their boats gently and sing merrily. May I be happy, may I be free, living with kindness in sweet harmony.